When I did the piece on the Williams FW14B near Silverstone a couple of weeks ago, and got a great response from so many people saying how much they loved seeing that car in the hands of Valtteri Bottas. It didn't run for very long. And of course, one of the problems is that early 1990s IT technology was very sophisticated, but in order to run it, you actually need the hardware that goes with the 1990s IT technology. Sorry, iTechnology. And there's not a lot of it around, which is one of the reasons it was quite difficult to run that car that day. We never really got over the slight electrical problem. Anyway, it occurred to me that there's a lot of lovely racing cars out there still. The problem is that most of the Formula One teams are either too new or haven't really got themselves together in terms of having a collection that you can go and see and touch and feel. Ferrari have, and Williams have, and McLaren have, although they're a little bit precious with their displays and their museums. You're not allowed to take photographs and this and that, but I'll try and get in there at some point. But not too many others, partly because they're new teams, I guess. Although you would argue, and you would imagine there's quite a lot at Mercedes, stroke Brawn, stroke BAR to see, if that's your taste. But there's no doubt that Ferrari and Williams really have the best collections and a heritage that you can really get hold of, McLaren aside. So here we are driving back to Williams. Unless you think I'm a bit of a Williams phobe, you know, the reality is this team has been around now for a long time. If you know, 1969 in terms of Frank Williams' first Grand Prix season with Piers Courage, admittedly with Brabhams then, but then that sort of cancels out a couple of glitchy years in the early 70s when they were ISO Marlboros. So, you know, he's been around a long time. And not the one thing, but one of the many good things Frank has done is keep many of the cars. And we have this wonderful collection at Grove at the Williams factory, right by the Williams factory, and that's wonderful to see. The actual conference centre in which the cars are housed was built by was part of the whole BMW Le Mans program that Williams did at one point, and that's why there's such a nice space there, and they've made very, very good use of it. What we're going to do today is just have a look at the cars there and a little bit of the history that goes with them, and think about some of the great moments that came with those cars. It's always nice to see cars running, but equally I love seeing racing cars in other environments as well. I used to love the racing car show as it was, when all the racing car manufacturers produced their new products and they were all on display with painted tyres and looking immaculate. And I've got a feeling that's what it's going to be like at Williams. So if we just have a look forward now and take the camera forward, we can have a look at the entrance to the Williams factory here. And we're just driving up to the security area, which is now, there's Patrick Head just driving out in his VW Golf. That was interesting. Patrick's still with the company, but on the hybrid side now. No security guards there anymore. No, there is one there, unusual, but normally it's just this bing bong now, and you have to, here we go, the gentleman just asking him what we're doing. Hello. I'm Peter Windsor. I've got an appointment at the Williams Conference Centre with Johnny Williams. Thank you very much. Yes, with Johnny Williams, who, one of my good buddies, known him all his life since he was a little toddler, Frank's eldest son, and he and I are going to just explore a little bit of the treasures in the conference centre today, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that very much. Johnny's an encyclopedia of anything to do with, well, actually to do with a lot of non-Williams Formula One, but equally anything that does involve Williams, even more so. So we couldn't be in better hands than with Johnny, and as I say, it should be excellent. So we're just pulling up now into the car park and we'll have a look inside. So in we go. It's actually been a while since I was last. Oh, that's a nice view. Straight in and we see I think it's an FW33 from last year. Not the greatest of racing cars, but it looks very impressive when you just walk in and see it in all its glory. And on the wall. That's nice. An overhead shot of the Williams FW06. That's the car that put the company on the map, of course. The first Patrick Head car, beautiful little car. It wasn't a ground effect car, which was a shame, but nonetheless, against the Lotus 78 of 1978, it was a very competitive car. Very good traction, something that was a hallmark of that car, and indeed of the Wolf. And the back end of this car is very similar to the Wolf of 77, which of course Patrick Head also designed. We also have above us, interestingly enough, another Formula One car. Reminds me of the pictures I used to see of as a kid of Joe Bonnier, who had his McLaren M7C mounted vertically in the living room of his house in Switzerland. Joe Bonnier, the very rapid, talented Swiss driver who sadly lost his life at Le Mans 72. But this is it's a Villeneuve car, it looks like. Well, I'm sure Johnny Williams will put us right on that. But interesting angle from which to see it. And here's the main reception area of the conference centre. Picture of the two current drivers, Pastor Maldonado and Bruno Senna. So that's nice to see. A little bit quiet today. Not usually this quiet. This is a conference centre that does a lot of business away from motorsport, just in general. It's sought after venue for conferences and all sorts of things. But we'll see if we can find Johnny Williams and move along. Johnny, good to see you.
Hey Peter, how are you?
Thanks so much for having us along.
Welcome back.
Now, I was just saying that was a Villeneuve car, but I'm wrong.
Well, as we've chosen to represent it, it is a Villeneuve car, number 3 from 1997. We chose, when we moved into this facility, to reserve the suspended slot in reception to represent the Williams that last won the World Championship. But the prime FW19, the one with all the history from that year, we'll see later in the collection hall. So truth be told, that's actually chassis number 05, which was Frenson's main race car from 1997. So the car with which he took his career first victory at the San Marino Grand Prix, sat on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix, and I think in the last 7 or 8 races of the year accumulated somewhere in the region of half a dozen podiums, which helped seal the Constructors' World Championship for a night time.
It's funny how Heinz Harald has kind of disappeared from radar, isn't it? Really? Formula One radar anyway. And when one thinks of what he did, he's actually very good.
On his day,
good job.
On his day with us, he was very, very strong. I mean, we had a race-winning car in 1997, but I guess as the season went on, the focus was naturally towards Villeneuve. But his highlights, as we said, in 1997, his win in Imola, his pole in Monte Carlo, but that run of podium finishes that he went on in the last third of 1997, that was a major part of this team beating Ferrari to the Constructors' World Championship. So, no, certainly an important driver in the history of Formula One, for sure.
It's a long time since I've been here, and I know it's a bit dark, but we're going to see the cars, well, we see the cars under lights. I think it's been done beautifully. And the reference points of the Ferrari Museum, which is completely different. It's all lights and glitz, if you like.
Okay, I haven't actually been.
And red plastic, yeah, but some very nice cars there, obviously.
Well, without a doubt, Ferraris are, well, they are.
But you've done this really nicely.
Thank you.
This is superb.
I'm sorry that your opening shots are panning in on a few vacancies. We have actually got 2 of the 3 FW08s out today, and that there's the possibility of running those cars at forthcoming events before the end of this year. So they're actually workshop based at the moment, as is Damon Hill's 1996 FW18. But apart from those 3 cars, we have a full house in here, everything from FW06 to FW33, and apart from those 3 cars, everything in between.
And they're all proper cars. None of these are what I would call show cars. They're all chassis numbered cars.
Correct.
That have a history.
We try to identify at the end of each season or cycle of car type the most successful individual from within that, either in terms of results accumulated or in some cases incidents, and that's the car that we identify for the Grand Prix collection, the museum. And in most cases, the cars that we therefore deliver based upon that to the collection hall are fully operational cars that we assemble. We then keep a good log of those cars in terms of mileage, condition of components, specification of components. So
So it's a big job.
It is a big job. Without these days, as it used to have, as you know, a dedicated museum workshop department. We created the Grand Prix collection in 1988, 1989, and we actually set up an accompanying workshop, and that ran all the way through to pretty much 2010, 2011, but we've now absorbed it into the factory. So we have a group of technicians called the support team, and they have to conduct any of the very limited in-season testing that we do, any demonstration work with our current cars, any show car work, any museum car work, any factory build support work. So it's difficult to manage, but
I would guess some of the personnel on that team would be ex-race personnel.
oh, with that, I mean, we
Probably
have
from my era even.
definitely. Well, we have two highlights. Well, we have two guys actually who fit that description. We have Bob Davis. I'm sure you're very well.
Well, we saw Bob in the FW 14B video.
So very, I mean, highly skilled, highly experienced, very knowledgeable mechanic, great guy to have on board. And ditto one of his colleagues, Colin Watts, who has had about 20 years of Williams history now, but prior to that was a Lotus mechanic in the 1980s, and I think one of Ayrton Senna's race mechanics during the Lotus Turbo time, for example. So
I hired him.
you hired him.
Yeah,
there you go.
I
So
hired
it
him
must
from
have been
Lotus,
about 20 years ago.
Well,
So
I say I hired him.
well,
Dickie came into my office and said,
Thank you.
We needed to find a mechanic, and we had 6 or 7 CVs, and Collins was there, and Dickie said, this is the guy I think we should get. So we got him down from Norfolk and did the interview and hired him on the spot. Lovely guy.